My special guest today is a former Premier League footballer who earned a total of 23 caps for England between 1995 and 2001, as well as 2 Premier League seasons with his hometown club, Hull City. He appeared in England's top flight for Tottenham Hotspur, Middlesbrough, Everton, my boys Liverpool and Leeds United. Also represented Nottingham Forest outside the Premier League. It's an honour to welcome to the show today Mr. Nick Barmby. How you doing, sir?
How are you doing, Joe? All right?
Great to see you.
And you, mate?
Nick, before we talk about your football days, I just want to thank you again on behalf of myself and the Liverpool fans of San Antonio for taking the time to come to the Winchester pub here a couple of years ago to meet the fans. Not only did you take the time to sign every shirt, every photograph, even Irish Kieran Campbell's derby ticket, but you stayed along with your beautiful family, Mandy and the boys and your friends. You did a Q&A for us. You even sang You Never Walk Alone with yours truly. What a day. So we just wanted to all say thank you. They're all really excited about you being on the show today, all the fans here.
Yeah, no problem, Joe. We had a brilliant afternoon. Everyone keeps talking about it and met great people down there. And it was brilliant. Really good memories. Yeah, good time.
So, Nick, growing up on the west side of Hull, you played for local teams, Springhead and National Tigers as a boy, showing your talent from a very early age. Tell us about your early playing days as a kid.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit different for the viewers out there now with all these academies at the football clubs, and clubs are getting kids, in my opinion, a little bit too young, really, at 8 and 9 years of age. Whereas years ago, you sort of signed for a club at 15, 16, went into the youth team, then tried to get in the reserves in the first team. So yeah, I played Sunday League up to the age of 14. Played for Hull boys, so we'd play like Sheffield boys, Leeds boys, and everything was real competitive then. Whereas these academies are not competitive, but the memories we had, with my mates at school and school teams and everything was brilliant. And the sort of Yorkshire League was a good league really, and the Hull boys Sunday League had I think other than Liverpool had the most leagues in England. Really? So it was a real competitive league and some good players coming out of it.
Favourite players growing up?
My favourite, there's only one, King Kenny.
Kenny?
Yeah, he was my idol. A lot of people's idols. And just the first time I saw him play on TV, we don't, now you see all the teams virtually every day playing now. Whereas, yourself, we only had match of the day on a Saturday night. So you'd wait for that. But then, I was instantly drawn to the way he played, clever footballer, great footballer, just a genius of a footballer, and tried to emulate, tried to play like him really. But yeah, what a player, and obviously he's God at Liverpool.
Well, I remember as a kid, Keegan leaving as kids, we were like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Yeah. Then this guy, 440,000 from Celtic, came along, and we were like, wow.
Yeah.
As you say, to this day.
That was the thing. Kevin Keegan, to everyone out there, was an unbelievable player. And then when he left Liverpool, it was a big shock, really. It was a sort of the first English guy to go to Europe, really. Whereas, they're going to replace they replaced the number 7 with the number 7, didn't they? And, the rest is history, really.
Yeah. So you eventually signed for Tottenham Hotspur, joining them on leaving school in the summer of 1990. Your first game, ironically, was against Hull City in a testimonial match for Gareth Roberts, and you scored 2 goals.
Yeah, it was amazing, really. Yeah, we'd come down, we brought a first team down to the Gareth Roberts' testimonial, because I used to go watch Hull City as a kid, and he was the captain for 10 years. Great guy. So it was a big crowd for him. So it was fitting really for the fans to come and show the support for Gareth over the years. And yeah, I was lucky enough to play and scored a couple of goals, which then I was going to play with in the first team the following week because our season was still playing. Fortunately, I tweaked my knee, so I couldn't play. So I was gutted really. So I had to wait till the following season to make my debut really. So yeah, but no, it was ironic that I made my debut against Hull City.
Yeah. Well, you turned pro under Terry Venables 1992. You were playing in the Premier League at just 18 years old.
Yeah. Well, it was just it was the first inauguration of the Premier League. So if I hadn't tweaked my knee, I would have played in the old First Division. when Leeds won that league.
Yeah, that
year. And then obviously, I mean, we can't really say it, Joe, can we? Man United won the Premier League, didn't they?
No, I can. We can edit that bit out, definitely. Yeah. What was Terry Venables like to work with?
Yeah, I mean, we go on about in our country, there's a lot of foreign coaches come in and they've been brilliant. Your Mourinho's, your Guardiolas, some very, very good coaches. But, we tend to sort of play down our own coaches into Bobby Robson and Terry Venables. These guys, where now, you're seeing these defenders splitting and the goalie throwing the ball out and one of the centre-halves is coming out the back. Well, Terry Venables was doing that in the 70s with QPR. Glenn Roeder used to do that. So he was a genius of a manager. Went to Barcelona, won them the league. I think they hadn't won the league for 6 or 7 years. Won them the league, and then he got him actually into the European Cup final, the Champions League final, and got beat on penalties. And it was the closest they've ever came until obviously now that they've won it. But yeah, his man management, his knowledge of the game, just the way he was as a person, a great guy. And it was sad really that he only had 2 years in the job with England, because I'm sure we would have won silverware under him. If he'd have stayed in the job 4 years, 6 years, whatever, I'm sure England would have definitely won something.
Yeah, we were so close this year with the Euros, right?
Very, very, yeah.
But you played for Tottenham until 1995. Did you get to play alongside Paul Gascoigne before he left for Lazio?
Yeah, well, to be fair, Gazza took me under his wing when I was an apprentice, because there was only one or two northern lads who was down south at the time. So Gazza always looked after us. And he'd just come back from Italy in 1990 in the World Cup, and that spell for probably 6-8 months, he was the best player in the world. By a mile, he was
amazing,
unbelievable. He was amazing, and with the listeners, we won the FA Cup that year, and no disrespect to any other player at Spurs, there were some very, very good players, but he dragged the team throughout the rounds and winning games by himself. And I've been lucky enough to play with a lot of great English players, but him by a mile is the best player I've ever played with. English wise, he was unbelievable player. And it was just a shame that year he did his knee.
Yeah.
And he was never, although he was still great, he was never really the same player. But if he hadn't got injured, he would have been the best in the world for a good 4, 5, 6 years.
That was in the cup final, right, against Forest?
Yeah, the cup final. I mean, we played Arsenal in the semi, and he scored the free kick.
That's right, I remember that.
30, 40 yards out. And they couldn't touch him that day. He was just special. Gazza loved the big stage, and and he delivered. And probably the strongest mentality I've ever seen from an English player, that, he wasn't arrogant, but he knew what he could do on a football pitch. And the better player he played against, he was better than them. So yeah, but he was unreal. And it was unfortunate because when I first got there, Glenn Hoddle had just left, Chrissy Waddle had just left to Marseille, Gazza was there, and Gary Lineker was there. So if Glenn Hoddle and Chrissy Waddle would have stayed, it'd have been some team really. Oh, yeah. But yeah, no, it was special. And we actually played in the deal to go to Lazio. We played Lazio home and away at the Olympic Stadium, and the first game in the Olympic Stadium, he comes straight over and gives us his shirt, his number 10 shirt, which got downstairs, which is special.
Any funny Gazza stories off the field?
I don't think they can be aired, to be fair, Joe, on radio. No, just a character. You always was on your toes when he was around. You're thinking, where is he? He was always up to something. But yeah, no, just special talent, great guy, and but just mad, crazy. Yeah. But no, he had the one thing about Gazza, he had a great heart. He was a good guy.
You left Tottenham to become Middlesbrough's most expensive signing, $5.25 million deal in June 1995. So what about your time at the Riverside Stadium?
Yeah, well, to be fair, it come about because Jurgen Klinsmann, he'd left Tottenham. He went to Bayern. Teddy Sheringham was going to Man United. There was talk of Darren Anderton leaving. So the club was in a bit of a transitional period, really. for such a big club. When I was with Euro 96, Brian Robson was the assistant manager, who was the Middlesbrough manager at the time. And I knew of his interest, and he struck me, he was a good coach, and Middlesbrough had just come up and they were spending a lot of money. The new stadium, it's a great stadium at the Riverside in Middlesbrough. And they were a club, with big ambitions, the brilliant chairman in Steve Gibson. For me, it was a good move. It was a move where at the time people were saying, my wife didn't settle in London, which couldn't be further from the truth. It was just a case of, I had 4 or 5 years at Spurs, and I just needed a new challenge. So we went to Middlesbrough. And to be fair, the first year we did really well. We stayed. It was imperative to stay in the Premiership for the first time, but I think we finished 10th or something. And then the Brazilians started coming in, Giannino, and then the Italian Ravanelli. So signed some big players, some really big players.
Then Everton came in, paying a record fee of £5.75 million, almost 4 years at Goodison Park. How would you describe your time there?
I mean, for people obviously in America who don't, they watch the Premier League, you'll obviously wax lyrical about the place. Merseyside, when it comes to football, wow, it's a religion, as you well know. Oh, yeah. It's a brilliant place to play football, whether it's for Everton or Liverpool. The fans, they get behind the team, they love the team, the passion of the fans, both red and blue. But yeah, the Evertonians are very, very, very passionate people. We had four great years at Everton. To be fair, the first 2 years didn't go that well because we was fighting relegation, which for a club like Everton, it shouldn't be doing that really. There was a few scares, stayed up last day, which again shouldn't be in that position. But then Walter Smith come in from Rangers and he steadied the ship and started to build. But then it was unfortunate we lost. Andrea Kanchelskis left, and then Gary Speed left. Two of the best players, really. But just to play at Goodison under the lights, and obviously the derby games are special. One of my first games was the derby game at Anfield, and we drew 1-1. But I always remember Gary Speed scored the last 10 minutes, and I'd just seen pockets of Evertonians in the Kop, where you was like, wow. That's unreal, which I don't think can happen now. But, the fans then, and the same Kopites were at some of them were in the Gladys Street, Everton's version of the Kop. And you just thought, wow, this is a special derby. For me, I've been lucky enough to play in London derbies, North East derbies, but nothing will ever touch the Merseyside derby, in my opinion. I understand Celtic Rangers is a little bit different, but for me, a Merseyside derby is incredible. Incredible.
I was at the 4-4 game, Dalglish's last game before the year. What a game. I was in the Park End that night. What a game that was. I'll never forget that.
Incredible, yeah.
But you headed across Stanley Park to Liverpool for a fee of $6 million, 19th July 2000. It was the first time since striker Dave Hickson in 1959 that Everton had sold a player to Liverpool. I know there have been others like Gary Ablett, God rest him, he moved from Liverpool to Everton, as did Peter Beardsley. There's only one after you, the Portuguese player. What was his name?
Xavier.
Yeah.
Abel Xavier.
That's right,
I was at Everton. The last year I was at Everton, Abel came to Everton. But, yourself, it's like Liverpool to Everton, the Evertonians sort of as if, we've got one up on Liverpool there. We've got one of their players. And I think, I knew the stare it had caused. Especially with me being at Everton for 4 years. And I had a year left on my contract and there was a few in for me and I just, Liverpool come in for me and I thought, I've always wanted to play for Liverpool and, King Kenny was my hero. I knew it'd cause a stare, which obviously it did at the time.
I remember it well.
Yeah. But yeah, I know that...
it must have been stressful for you, though, and the family.
Yeah, it was, and I was more concerned, obviously, about the family. But to be fair, the amount of people I've spoken to over the years now, I know that they're never going to forgive me, or the majority won't. But I was funny enough, I was at a wedding down south last week, and the groom were Scousers, but they're all Evertonians. So yeah, when they had a few drinks, but they were brilliant. To be fair, they were good, and you have a bit of a laugh now. But yeah, at the time it wasn't obviously the done thing. But I remember my first derby, but it was at Anfield. It wasn't at Goodison, and the atmosphere was
That's the one you scored. Where you scored the header.
Yeah. I'll never forget, because Mandy had and my family, they had a sort of police escort from the Queen's Drive into Anfield, and then the manager had said, "Look, everything's fine. Your family are fine," and then went out and played, and the first 20 minutes as normal was frantic as the derbies are. Tackles flying in and whatever, and I remember Christian Ziege, the left back, and he shot and it deflected, and as it deflected, it sort of bounced up, and it was coming towards me, and I just sort of guarded it, and as I've guarded it, and you know that's in, straight away you think, oh, that's in, and the goalie was funny, because I used to run with the goalie, Paul Gerrard, and he's looked, and it's looked over his head, and I won't repeat on radio, but he went, "You little," and just, we sped off, but we won the game 3-1. But the atmosphere was incredible. But yeah, it was. But I had to have. Normally, the manager doesn't allow you days off, but he said, "Look, have a day off. Go back home. Let the sort of dust settle." But yeah, it was someday I've got to say.
That's why when you come up to the Winchester, big Irish Kieran who you met, he was like, "I've got the derby ticket for that game. I want Nick to sign that."
Yeah.
Kieran has an absolute museum in his house, his games room. And Ray Clements was there. Gary Gillespie was there, and he's got 2 chairs with the plaques on the back, and Ray sat here, Gary sat here. They both signed his door.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. If you ever come to San Antonio again, you have to go to Kieran's house next time.
Yeah, obviously when we can, we're saying about, because that was a good thing with Jack, that normally years and years ago it was just with a family, it was always Disney, wasn't it? But for us that we've been with Jack, been to Portland, San Antonio, met yourselves, met great people, went to Phoenix, and we've got to travel America and see the majority of America in the last 5 years, which has been brilliant for us, and meeting great people. But for me, the one thing you always see is, like, Liverpool fans, or dare I say, Man United fans, and for some reason you see quite a bit of Chelsea fans, don't you, in America? Which
you do, yeah.
Yeah. I think they still need educating. Should be just Liverpool fans, to be fair. But to be fair, the good thing about the Premier League is that for us, whenever we travel to America, and you're a little bit jet lagged, you wake up in the morning and it's live early in the morning. So yeah, it's fantastic for us.
Yeah, I've been at the Winchester at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
some mornings. Yeah. Actually, O'Connell's where I work, they don't open for the games there.
Wow.
Probably because 2 of the owners are Man United fans and they won't open for me.
There you go.
So, but when you came to Liverpool, Man United expressed interest too of signing you, but they were outbid by Liverpool.
Yeah, well, they did come in. Chelsea came in, but like my agent, I expressed that I wanted to go to Liverpool, and I always wanted to play for Liverpool. And do you know what? Even if I had just donned the shirt once, then I could have said, "Look, I played for Liverpool." But the first year just couldn't get any better, really, especially when Liverpool haven't won anything for quite a while. Do you know what, Joe? I don't know if you was there. I'll never forget the bus tour afterwards, after the season, and where there's over 500,000 people in Liverpool, and incredible. And sort of seen that in the 80s.
As a kid, I saw them all, like Dalglish coming home, even Key. I was at the 77 European Cup when he came home after winning that against Mönchengladbach. And 78 against Bruges, Kenny scored. I was at all them homecomings, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You know yourself that a normal game at Anfield is always a good atmosphere anyway, but a European game at Anfield under the lights is a special place to be. And I believe even last year, you look at COVID, Liverpool would have beat Real Madrid. If the fans were in against Real Madrid in the Champions League, Liverpool would have beat them, no doubt. No doubt about that. And it is, and I always remember the fans when we played Alaves in Dortmund, and we had the big stand that Dortmund had their Cop, and just incredible night. And to see that, to witness that is just, it's nights that you'll never forget.
Yeah. I mean, that UEFA Cup final, I was actually, when you asked me did I see the homecoming, I was actually on the cruise ships at the time. Me and one of the comedians, one of the singers, we went out that night in Crete and we watched that UEFA game in a bar in Crete.
Well, it wasn't good for the heart, was it, that game?
Oh, not at
cruising, and then suddenly they came back, and that was the golden goal. I think it was one of the last finals of the golden goal. Gary Mack put a ball, and I think it was an own goal, wasn't it? They came back strong, Alaves, and you thought, oh, here we go. But yeah, but it was just, to be fair, it's funny how the games we played and the finals we played was very, very resolute side. Tough to beat, especially that's the way Houllier played. And our back two centre, we had Stefan Oncho and Sami Hyypiä. They were brilliant pairing, and Didier Mann in front of them, anchor in the midfield. And any final we played it in the FA Cup in Cardiff against Arsenal. And to be fair, Arsenal battered us, but was just resilient. They went one up, had a goal cleared off the line. I think Ljungberg or Henry missed an open goal. And you're just thinking, the luck's with us here. Is our name on this? And then obviously Michael scores 2 goals in the blink of an eye. Win that. The League Cup before that against Birmingham. We went 1-0 up. Birmingham scored, went to extra time, went to penalties. We won on penalties.
You scored a penalty in that game, right?
Yeah.
I remember that game.
I always remember the penalty where you walk up, and no matter what anyone tells you, you've seen the lads, unfortunately, in the Euros. That walk from the halfway line to the penalty spot, you must change your mind about 10 times. You think, right, I'll put it there. And then you look at the goalie and you're thinking, he's looking at that way. Oh, I might change it. Yeah. But that's the worst thing you can do. But I always remember, I thought I'll put it keeper's left. And I didn't change my mind, but I wanted to go low. But I hit the ball and I hit it on the rise. And to be fair, it's gone in the top corner. And the lads will go, oh, what a penalty that was. I was just, I'll be honest with you, I didn't mean it. I meant to put it in the bottom corner. But yeah, we scraped through the FA Cup final, and then obviously with the UEFA Cup final, in the end, we scraped through that. So it was just, I think things were turning for Liverpool at the time then, and your name was on the cup no matter how you played, because we didn't actually play that well in all the finals, really.
Yeah, how was Gerard Houllier as a manager?
Yeah, well, it was a different manager to, say, Klopp, where he was more defensive minded. That he had this saying, team block, meaning that let the opposition have it in their own half, but the minute they come into our half, we're on them and we break on them. Which we had fast players in Michael, Big Emil, Vladdy Smicha, Paddy Berger. So we was a good counter-attacking side, which served us well because we beat Man United home and away. I think beat them at Old Trafford for the first time for quite a while. And he was, as in like statistician, he loved, right, we need to be in November, we need to be so-and-so points. By January, we need to be so-and-so points. And to be fair, we should have won the league. In them 2 years, we led the league, a good 6 or 7 points. Beat Man U home and away twice. We did the same the following season. And just stumbled at the last hurdle, which, again, Liverpool did it with Benitez as well, didn't they? They did it with Brendan Rodgers, and you're just thinking, this mould needs to break. And then obviously Klopp, he eventually did it. So now, that's off the back now that Liverpool have won the Premier League. I think really it was the one that got away, really, the league. We should have won the league in one of them years, definitely.
So 2 years with Liverpool, 8th of August 2002, signed for Leeds, linking up with Terry Venables again.
Yeah, I would have never, ever left Liverpool if it were for Terry Venables. I spoke to him and he just said, look, we've got a chance here of doing well in the league. We have to sell Rio. Rio Ferdinand had done a deal with Man United. And he said that, we've got Dominic Matteo, ex-Liverpool, Lucas Radebe at the back, Jonathan Woodgate, and Leeds had some good players at the time. So it was hard to turn down. It was, half of me didn't want to leave Liverpool, but for me to team up with Terry Venables again, which we did. And then, I felt so sorry for him because the rug was well and truly pulled beneath him. No one knew about the financial state of Leeds at the time. And, the sole players, left, right, and centre, and we struggled to stay up that year. And Terry, I think he got the sack in January, I think. So yeah, it wasn't a great time really. It was sad to see, someone like that being sacked really. So, but that's management and that's football, and unfortunately, it can happen like that.
Was that when you worked with Dave Hancock?
Yeah, first met Dave.
Dave was on the show. He was on the show a couple of months ago now. Yeah, he's out in Connecticut.
Well, I knew he'd left for America because I think he got. There was another physio called Harvey, his mate, and I think he got Harvey out to America with a baseball team, I think. But yeah, no, Dave was there for 2 or 3 years.
Because I met Dave when he was with the New York Knicks.
Right.
Yeah, he was in the back of a car. Some guy shouted me looking for the directions. I was on my way to the gig, carrying my guitar. So I give this guy directions, and it turned out it was Malik Rose, who used to play for San Antonio Spurs. He was driving them round. And he was looking for a Lency Hotel, and I said, yeah, a couple of blocks to a left, straight along Houston Street. Then these back windows come down. You're a Scouser, calm down, all that business. And they ended up coming to my gig. And I've stayed in touch since, yeah. He actually got me a Liverpool shirt signed and got it sent out from Anfield, yeah.
He's I heard he'd done real well. Well, obviously when we went to the Winchester, we spoke to him, didn't
That's
we?
right, yeah, you were on the phone to him that day.
Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Loan spell at Notts Forest, 2003-2004 season?
Yeah, I was at Leeds, and there was like contractual issues about how many games playing and then having to pay Liverpool another fee. So I just wanted to play, and I was allowed just to go out on loan because I didn't want to sit and, all I wanted to do was play. So I went there for a month, and Forest is, it's a big club. Really, it should be in the Premiership. And if you look at it over the years, and obviously winning the European Cup twice.
Liverpool's bogey team in the 70s.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Wow. John Robertson, Gary Birtles.
Right, they had some great players. Peter Shilton.
Shilton, Kenny Burns.
That's right. But yeah, so went there for a month, and then I come back home, my hometown, and they just got in from out of League Two at the time into League One, and they just got a new stadium. And I'd already known the chairman at the time because he was at Leeds when I was there, Adam Pearson. And then he just sort of half joked, would you come back to your hometown? And I've always wanted to come back and play for my hometown club. But I didn't want to come, when you're 35, 36 and sort of picking up your money and not really contributing. So yeah, I sat down, and it was a family decision, and I come back here at 30, and the first year, was lucky enough to get into the Championship, the one below the Premiership, which for a club that size at the time, and the ball was rolling, and then we stayed in the Championship the following year, and then the following year, we got promoted to the Premiership, which for us was incredible, and it's the first time ever in the club's history.
I remember that.
And if you're going to do it, and the way to do it is going to Wembley in the playoffs. We played Bristol City, and it was a full house at Wembley, and for us and our fans, because I'm not sure your audience, our cities, yourself, it's more rugby league. So the two rugby league teams in Hull is west of the city where I live, Hull FC, and east of the city is OKR. They were really successful 70s and 80s and had all the best players, the Australians, always at Wembley playing in cup finals. So it was always the rugby side of people from Hull going to Wembley, whereas to see the football side, walking down Wembley Way in black and amber was just incredible scenes. Mandy was there. George was with Mandy, my youngest son, but Jack was in Spain, unfortunately, on a school trip. Can you believe that? He missed it. But yeah, no, it was unbelievable and then for us and our fans, then to go play at Anfield, to go play at Old Trafford, and it was incredible. And we managed to stay in the Premiership the first year, which was really important financially for the club.
And they had a song for you when you came home, the Hi-Ho Silver Lining.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Somebody got me to sing it at Winchester that day. He said, "Listen, do you know Nick's song?" And I didn't know. And he said, "Yeah, just sing it, but it's I owe Nicky Barmby. Now you're coming home." And okay, we put it together. Managed to put it together that day. But it was through Nigel Pearson you took your first steps into coaching at Hull.
That's right.
you were still playing, or you were a player coach?
Yeah, no, I was still playing. Because I knew Nige Pearson. He was at Middlesbrough when I was there. He was our captain, and when Nige come in to manage, he just pulled us in the office. He said, "Look, still want you to play, but I want you to be player coach." So I went, right, I hadn't really thought about it. He went, "No, I want you to be player coach." So I went, "Fine, but what does that entail?" He went, "Well, you ain't getting changed in the lads' changing rooms anymore." Which you're thinking, wow, I've done that for 20 years. Which I understand what he meant. You know, you couldn't be in there. That if things got said straight away, the lads would be like, "Oh, what you been saying?" And yeah. So it was strange. But the first year, you know, I did my badges, and what I did was still played with the first team. I'd be in the staff meetings, and then Nige would say, "Right, for the reserves or the under-23s, go take them if they're playing on a Wednesday night." So it was a good introduction, to be fair. But I kept saying to Nige, I ain't giving up my boots. You know, I'm feeling good. And I was coming off the bench and, you know, doing like a 20-minute, 30-minute cameo or whatever. And I still felt as though I could contribute. And to be fair, it was always good as gold with me anyway. I was, what was I, 37 and still feeling good. Whereas a lot of players now, you know, they're finishing at 31, 32, which...
I mean, you look at Teddy Sheringham, he played till...
40.
Yeah. He was 40, yeah. Because he played in the FA Cup final against Liverpool, the Gerrard final, 2006. Right. I remember him playing that game,
Yeah. Because you know yourself, the problem is in England, there was always like a stigma where the minute you reach 30, veteran now, but you know, you're looking at these guys, Ronaldo and Messi and people like that, they're throwing that out the window, that they're still playing at the highest level, still playing all these games, what they do, 35, 36, and still being the best players.
It's like Kenny Dalglish when he bought David Speedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he put a few goals away, and I remember at the time people going, "Oh, he's a bit old to be coming, you know, to Liverpool," but hey.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, King Kenny, what did he played till he was, 38, 39?
Yeah. Because he was player coach, wasn't he, when he won the double?
Yeah.
He scored the goal against Chelsea in 86, I think that was. 86, 87. How do you feel about going from player to manager? Because you went into management eventually, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, no one put a gun to my head and saying you've got to do it, but Nige left. He went back to Leicester. So the club was in a little bit of limbo, really, and the players wanted me to take it. The chief exec wanted me to take it, Adam Pearson. And it was, you know, it's your hometown club, and you think, right, but I still want to play. But I always remember, I mean, years ago, you'd probably get away with it. That's what I was saying about King Kenny, like player manager, whereas now, I don't think you can be player manager. I really don't. I think, you know, that you've got to concentrate on one or the other, really. So I took it in a sort of, I just said, well, not in a part-time basis, like a caretaker basis. And we ended up doing well. And then they said, look, the lads want you here, everyone wants you here. Will you sign a contract? So I signed a 4-year contract. And I'll be honest with you, management want for me, you know, dealing with agents and people, you know, pulling you left, right, and centre. I enjoyed, you know, Monday to Friday with the lads on the grass and tactically looking at all the other teams in video analysis and stuff like that. I enjoyed that, but the majority of the other stuff with the press, I just didn't enjoy it. Didn't like it. So, yeah, and you know, it was one of them where I can say that I was my hometown club's manager, coach, player. But yeah, if someone came in now, management wise, you know, I wouldn't take it. For me, you know, you miss playing, and I miss playing every day of the week because you know, that's what you did and that's what I loved. But as management, I don't miss it at all.
Okay, so you wouldn't go into management again. It just wasn't your thing, you know. You just didn't want.
No, it just wasn't my thing. Yeah.
You still get a chance to kick the ball around?
Yeah,
probably with the boys, right?
Well, funny enough, when we went to Portland, and because it's like a 3G pitch, AstroTurf, so we had an hour on playing at Portland and training in with my mates, and then we did it at San Antonio.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Brian, all them, they was on the pitch. They were good enough to let us on the pitch after the training. The only thing was it was too hot.
That's
honestly,
it. It's so hot here. I mean, I've been here 15 years. Every summer, I'm like, oh, here we go. I remember going in 2015, load of fans from here. We all went to Houston to watch Steven Gerrard. He just signed for Galaxy and he was playing against the Houston Dynamos. Owen Coyle was manager at the time with the Houston Dynamos. And he'd just come from Liverpool. It was a July night in Houston. They had to take him off. He was just exhausted and dehydrated.
You know what? I mean, I didn't realise, because us Brits, when it comes to America, not ignorant, but especially with the football, when Jack first come to the MLS and the travelling it entails is unbelievable, isn't it? Ridiculous, really. And I think, like a Stevie, Frank Lampard, all the lads who do come over, they think, wow, we're on a 4-hour flight here sometimes, or time difference, and then the heat, and it's grueling. You know, it's a really grueling schedule.
Yeah.
And I like when we came out and watched Jack in San Antonio, you know what it's like in England, that you get up in the morning, it's a little bit cold. If it's a nice day, nice and warm, but then the minute the sun goes down, it's cool again. Whereas with San Antonio, it was the minute you woke up to the minute you went to bed, and playing in that heat. You know, I said to Jack, I'll tell you what, fair play to all the lads, because wow, that would do me in, really. Obviously the weight, the lows, but yeah, no, I've got to say I love the setup in San Antonio, and Jack loved his time in San Antonio. It was there, and obviously we met yourselves, and but we'd definitely come back 100%.
Well, for the listeners, let's talk about Jack Barmby, everybody, Nick's son. But before we do, let's not forget George, your other son, George. He should be a comedian. He should have his own show, George.
Yeah.
Because when we did the Q&A at the Winchester, I remember him putting his hand up. So this is dad on stage, answering all the football questions, and his son, George, put his hand up. Go on, George. Who's your favourite son?
Yeah, no, he's a comedian, but wherever he goes, he loves singing.
You got up and sang that day.
There's like a tribute for all bands next week, and he's doing all the comparing.
He is.
So he loves all that, and I mean, you say he sang with you today, and he loves all that. I've got to say, you know, it was one of the best afternoon ever. We keep on talking about it. It was brilliant.
It was a good day, wasn't it?
Really good.
And thanks again for coming along. We had a great day, you know, because a lot of the fans thought you were just going to come in, quick pitch it, solo, but to spend the whole day, for me to do the gig and to get on stage and do the whole thing, we had a really great time. So let's talk about Jack Barmby. Did he start in the UK, Jack, playing before he came over?
Yeah, he did. He started at Man United.
Right.
He was playing for his Sunday League side, 13, 14. Because I just kept saying to him, I didn't make him or anything like that. I just said, look, for me, academies, you know, it's like the 20 odd years that I've had experience in football, played under some of the greatest managers. I couldn't and wouldn't want to coach an 8-year-old, because an 8-year-old should be just going out and kicking a ball and enjoying himself. You know, he shouldn't be thinking about tactics on a football pitch at 8, 9, 10, 11. He should just be going and expressing himself, you know, making mistakes and then learning from them. Obviously, when they're 12, 13, 14, a little bit different, you know, starting thinking about the game and positional play or whatever. But, you know, and I said that to Jack. I said, look, go play for your school, go play for your Sunday League team, go play for East Yorkshire, East Riding team. And he loved it. And then he was at a tournament in Manchester, and the Man United scout was there, and he'd seen him, and he just said, well, is he not at a club? I wasn't there, my wife was there, and Mandy went, well, no, would he come down? And he had a trial, and he was just as good technically as the lads who were already there at United, who've been there at 8, 9, 10 years of age. Because I think we can, for us, overcoach kids, in my opinion.
Right.
So yeah, he signed for United at 15, went to live in Manchester, had 2 years apprenticeship, and then signed a year's pro with Man United. And then after that, he went on loan to Notts County and had a good spell there, and which was, for me, was important because it opened his eyes, in the lower leagues, that they had to take the kit home and clean their own kit, which is an eye opener because all these lads, especially Man United, everything's done for you, playing on nice pitches, but he wasn't playing on great pitches, which we had that years ago, Joe, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
All these kids play on nice pitches now, whereas we had to have a good touch years ago.
The ball used to stop, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
In the mud.
And so, and then Leicester had expressed an interest in Nigel Pearson when he was at Leicester, and he took him to Leicester. He was there for a couple of years, and we travelled down. I always remember it, and Jack's agent rang me and said, "Look, he's got a chance to go to America." So I was thinking, well, hang on, where and to be fair to Jack, he said, "Look, Dad, I just want to change. I want to change because not a lot of young kids actually go to the MLS. It's always like, obviously, your Rooney's, your Stevie G, coming towards the end of your career."
Yeah.
So Portland come in, and we flew out to Portland with Jack, and great people there. There was an English coach, so we enjoyed it. And I mean, I don't know if you've been the atmosphere at Portland Timbers.
I've never been over there.
Yeah, it's good atmosphere. 30,000, which I was surprised at. So he enjoyed his couple of years there, and then a new manager come in, so he didn't get much game time, and then San Antonio come in, and he came to San Antonio, and he loved it. He loved it, and then again there was a change of manager. The English manager, I think he went to Miami or someone, I think. And then Phoenix coming for him. So he's loved his spell in America.
Yeah.
I think with the COVID and everything, all the situation, he started missing home. So he's had 5 years in America, and we got him home just before all the lockdown.
How long was he with San Antonio for?
It was a season.
Okay, it was a season.
Yeah, season. But we'd gone out there two, 3 times. But we loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah.
I know you were playing golf here, right? It's very popular, the golf here in San Antonio. I think you went to... Was it La Cantera you went to?
Yeah, we stayed at La Cantera. We played La Cantera, but then we played... Is it the Quarry?
The Quarry, yeah. Yeah, that's by me. That's down the road from us.
Us as Brits, as normal, we played the Quarry, I think, at 2:30 in June or July. It was absolutely roasting. The only Brits on the course was us. Yeah,
it's like my in-laws.
Great golf club.
Yeah, my wife's mum and dad been over a few times, as is my mum and dad too. They used to come over, and you'd see them. The open top deck bus downtown San Antonio, the tallest bus. Spot the Brits. It was the only 2 on the top deck. My in-laws and my father-in-law had a cowboy hat on. They're going around the town.
Face bright red. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's Jack doing now then?
Yeah. Well, he was unfortunate, really. He was training with Lincoln last season, and unfortunately tore his hamstring. So it was a bad time, really. But he's been doing his degree, his online degree, for the last 3 years. I think he's got a couple of years left. And he's just had a job interview funny enough, about looking at kids from here going to America, whether USL, MLS, college. So he's really well equipped to tell these kids and parents, and obviously tell the powers that be. He's got to know a lot of people in football in America that, whether these kids are good enough for the MLS, for the USL, or college-wise. So he'll be. So he starts in a couple of weeks. So he's looking forward to that.
Oh, good. Before we do close, can we talk about your international career? 23 caps for England.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were saying about the Liverpool shirt. We have a thing in this country. You've seen it where one cap wonders, which I never really got, because it's one more cap than most people would ever get, and to play for England once, 100 times, 50 times, to play for your country is the biggest honour you can get. I was fortunate to do that 23 times and playing in 2 major tournaments, in 2 Euros, Euro 96 and Euro 2000. The only sort of regret I've ever had was under Sven Eriksson. I played in every World Cup qualifier when we beat Germany, and I had a chip bone in my ankle, so I had to have an operation, and it put me out for the World Cup. So I would have loved to have gone to a World Cup, but you know, you can't complain. But yeah, to play for your country, and for me, you know, your viewers will see Wembley now with the arch, the old Wembley with the Twin Towers. You know, to play there and come out the goal, and with the England fans and walking down Wembley Way and the Twin Towers, you saw just a special place to play.
It's a dream for a kid, isn't it? You know, playing football as a kid, and you're walking out at Wembley.
Yeah, you know, we was all brought up like that, playing Sunday League, and you know, wishing we'd play for England, and yeah, it was. But yeah, to play for England and just incredible, and to play the players. My first squad, John Barnes was in it. Yeah. Peter Beardsley was in it. Chrissy Waddle, but we had Stuart Pearce, Tony Adams, obviously Gaza, and Alan Shearer, Ian Wright, Les Ferdinand, Paul Ince, just, you know, proper players.
Top players, yeah.
All leaders, Stuart Pearce. And then towards the end of my England career, then the emergence of David Beckham, Scholesy, Stevie G, Frank Lampard. So yeah, it was. And for me, where we was very close this time around, you know, we really, for the players in Euro '96, should have won the tournament. Really, you know, was a whisker away from winning it. But again, you know, I think one got away this summer again. You know, we really should have won it. Really. You know.
What's your views on the penalty there? I mean, I know them kids got a rough time off the media.
I mean,
but
on the phone thing now, I don't get. I never have got. You know, it's a disgrace, and these kids showed up. You know, they said, "Hey, I'll take a penalty."
Yeah, and
that needs to be commended. And unfortunately, in a penalty shootout, someone's going to miss, and unfortunately, it was the English lads. But for me, I just found the only thing is if you're playing well during a game and you've had a lot of touches of the ball, say like Maguire, you know, he played well during the game, and he said, "Yeah, I'll take one." His confidence was up, and obviously it was a plan for Gareth to say, "Look, who wants a penalty? If you do, we'll bring you on maybe the last minute." But I just think if you hadn't had a touch of a ball before your first touch is your penalty.
Yeah, that was my view, to be honest, when I was watching the game.
Yeah, it's difficult for anyone, even a Ronaldo or a Messi. It'd be difficult.
Yeah, they've had no taste of the football at all, and then you come up and have to take a penalty.
Yeah, so it was difficult, and I don't think people understand that. But you know, as for the comments on the phone and whatever, they are football fans. They're just, I mean, the worst. They're not even idiots. They just, I don't know. You know, it just baffles me, and it disgusts you. But yeah, no, for me, I looked at all three of them. They put their hand up. I'll take one. You know, and I've known experienced players who've not wanted to take a penalty. So them lads should be commended. But I think, as an England fan looking at it, you know, you just wish that it shouldn't have gone to penalties. You know, we had a few chances, and whenever it goes to penalties, it's I always say it's never really the best team that always wins. You know, if you're playing well during a game and it keeps going and it's extra time, you're thinking, do not go to penalties, do not go to penalties. Because, you know, you look at Euro 96, we was the best team over 90 minutes, over 120 minutes. But Germany, you know, took the penalties and we missed one and done, you're out, you know.
Well, Kenny Dalglish was known for not wanting to take penalties. Kenny.
Well, exactly. And during, I don't think he took one in, was it 84, Rome? Yeah. So I've like I say, I've known great players who are just not penalty takers. You know, they just don't want to take a penalty. They're all right, they're great finishers during open play, but not take penalties. But yeah, it's I just think, you know, again it was one. But I suppose the only thing, again, we've had a semi-final and we've had a final, so we are moving in the right direction. Yep. But it's just when you've got, you know, no disrespect, you're playing Denmark in a semi, or you're playing, you know, if you look at the Italy team, they were a good side, but there wasn't a brilliant side. But fair play to Italy. But again, it for me, it got the fans back in, and the atmosphere was great, and the country again was getting behind the team, which is the most important thing.
Predictions for Liverpool next season?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's saying about Man City and Grealish and maybe even signing Kane. The best signing by a mile, Van Dijk's back.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, a lot of people aren't saying that. Liverpool are getting. If you look at, even if you wasn't a Liverpool fan, you look at what Klopp did last year to finish third with his two centre halves missing, the other centre half in Matip missing. Jordan Henderson wasn't fully fit the majority of the season, the captain. The front three weren't firing on all cylinders. But to finish third was an amazing achievement.
It was. I didn't see that coming, to be honest. And a lot of fans are saying, you know, the owners are not putting their hands in the pockets. I mean, do you think they should have bought anybody?
Well, I mean, the thing is with it, you don't know financially, especially the way the world is at the minute. I mean, you look at Barcelona and Real, you know, they're not spending. The only ones who are spending is PSG and Man City. But you look at Liverpool, it's you can go and buy someone, but do you really need him? You know, the new Van Dijk was coming back and is back. Gomez is back. Trent, if you look at it, Trent wasn't at his best last year, but that's purely because of his age. He ain't going to play brilliant every year. He's going to learn from it. For me, he's the best right back in the country, and he'll have a good season again this year. And Liverpool will be hard to beat. And the difference between Liverpool and most teams, Liverpool know how to beat Man City.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You know, you look at Man City, don't like playing against Liverpool. And now with Van Dijk back, so I expect Liverpool to be up there 100%. If you look at it, the pressure's all on Man City. You know, they've spent 100 million on someone, so the pressure's on Man City. But I think it'll be a good year this year because Chelsea will be up there. Man United, you would think, would be up there. Liverpool will be up there. Man City will be up there. So it'll be competitive, definitely.
Nick, thank you so much. Love to Mandy and the boys.
All the best, mate.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye. Nick Barmby, absolute honour today to have Nick on the show.